Okay. It's 8:56. We're supposed to end at 9, and Kathy still has to go as well. So I had a list of things I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm willing to shelf that and just take questions on exports for 5 minutes, since a lot of people gave me a lot of positive and negative feedback last night. That was more than welcome and really appreciated. Please keep it coming, not just at my level, but at my boss's level too, positive or negative. I mean, this is the time to really bring those comments to a head when we're making the decision how to proceed with the program. The one thing I do want to tell you is, if you have not met her yet, Dr. Laura Lorenzoni joined me in the office as a rotator in May. Laura's in the back, Laura, raise your hand. Thank God, I've been a team of one, off and on, for 14 years. I am thrilled to have another set of hands. I'm sure you're thrilled that I have another set of hands, because you say, I sent her 40 emails in the month of May. She just got back to me, it's July. So hopefully, I think the response time will improve now that there are two of us. Rick gave a really nice overview of the status of what's going on in the federal government with the election, whether you fall on whatever side of the multifaceted coin. Things to keep your eye on, I think, are the fact that I haven't really heard a lot about science or climate or the environment out of anybody yet, and we're very conscious of this because this is a driver for where the science agencies get their funding. As Rick said, a full year CR, in our mind, like flat is the new black, so if that's the way we wind up going, the way we look at it at NASA is that's fine, right? That's good for us, but an indication of nothing is going to be growing. So, questions about exports? Anything, anybody? Yes, Galen.
Is the money that will go into exports new money in like NSF terminology, or is it money that will come from other?
Okay. So there are many forms that new money can come in. Actual physical plus-ups to an agency in their appropriations bill is not something I've heard of in the 14 years I've been at NASA, okay? The fiscal situation in the United States government and, plus-ups of new money, actual additions that come to the agency, and then whether the agency wants to actually allocate that money to you just because someone told them to is another ballgame, okay? So how the sausage gets made is very different. It is likely to come from the core programs as well. There are internal at-large funds in the Earth Science Division. Earth Science at NASA is approximately $2 billion, okay? Whether we can argue successfully for some of the at-large to add, that's not money that's normally in the program, that's money that's normally in the Earth Science Division, and it usually goes to where there's going to be the most impactful science. If I were making the decision where that money were going, I would want to know what's the pressing science questions we're going to answer with this program. Why this program and not the program next door that's going to reduce uncertainty in direct atmosphere radiative forcing by, 2 orders of magnitude, and thus the IPCC assessments are going to be better, So we're competing internally for that at-large funds, and I think that's where the positive feedback comes from. There's a certain level of core investment that's going to be possible, but the level at which NASA implements exports is largely up to you, okay? It will be driven by the proposals that come in, okay? Are we going to be turning away science that's so phenomenal we're going to look like idiots? And I'm going to be able to make that case based on your feedback and your science that's proposed, okay? So those are a lot of drivers that go into that decision-making process. Other questions? Yes?
I think, I guess my question is more of a comment and request for clarification
Sure.
on lines of what Galen just asked, and that's that I think it's important to also maybe iterate that, NASA's big and it's not internal competition just in the ocean sciences community,
Right.
but this is an opportunity for ocean sciences to acquire funding that may go to other parts of NASA programs.
Yeah.
I didn't say that very eloquently.
No, I think that you said it accurately, though. Okay, so if you're not familiar with NASA and you're thinking about how might I join the exports program, just because you're not wholly familiar with satellite remote sensing doesn't mean you can't compete, okay? And as I said yesterday, I wouldn't wait until the last minute to familiarize yourself with the Roses Omnibus solicitation that comes out every year around February. I mean, you could literally Google NASA Roses, go right to the solicitation and read about what it is we do. We have an Earth Science division. We're not just oceanography. There are 2 oceanographers now. Well, now there are 3. Laura's with us. Eric Lindstrom and I have, Eric's been there longer than I have, runs the physical oceanography program. All the programs do field work like this, some on a much larger scale and have been doing it for decades. Some of the programs like Above, you can go into the Roses Omnibus, Google NASA Above, read the solicitations. That should give you some insight into how the agency solicits for field programs. There shouldn't be a lot of surprises. If there are questions, my phone number, my email address, they're public. Let me know what your questions are, right? What we do compete for internally are any at-large funds within the Earth Science Division and where they go every year. Sometimes we buy new planes, sometimes we buy new instruments, sometimes we dump it all into field programs. It's just a matter of where the compelling scientific justification is internally. Does that help? Okay. Yes, Ken.
We also yesterday several notional timelines for how this might move forward. I thought maybe you could comment a bit from your program and how this might move forward in the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay, good question. Timelines are always important. So the implementation plan is out for public comment. Now is the time to put your comments in. I've heard a lot of them here, but actually getting them on paper or virtual paper is important, okay? The science definition team will take all that feedback, we will synthesize it, and we will look for where are the real comments. There will be comments of different scale. Some will be very important to the backbone of the implementation plan. Some might be just missed opportunities that somebody wants to add. They come in all flavors. I suspect, or my understanding is that the science definition team is looking to finalize the implementation plan sometime in the October-ish timeframe. They've worked an absolutely death-defying timeline since the day they were selected. And come away with what they've done. They've come away with a number of implementation options. So if you have feedback on any of this, now's the time. From there, I've already given my management 2 briefings as opposed to giving them some insight into what I see as a number of implementation scenarios based on the status of the plan at the moment. They're very familiar with that. That's Mike Freilich and Jack Kay. I've also talked to our external relations people in the case that we really want to pursue some of these international partnerships, and they're standing by, waiting to understand which ones are actually concrete and which are just nice to have, okay? From there, I think if all went well and we could come up with a plan or a scenario that we thought was realistic given the current budget, put the current election aside, which can turn things on a dime in a heartbeat, okay? We would probably proceed with trying to pull off a solicitation sometime this calendar year. Now, I'm also very conscious of, releasing major solicitations in the beginning to the middle of December and having you worry over your academic breaks and your holiday breaks and everything else that people should be taking to recharge themselves, major competition proposals. I'm also conscious of the timeline that's in that implementation plan for when the community really wants to be at sea, okay? And when ships are available. There are a lot of things that will factor into this, but notionally, we could pull off a solicitation this year, okay? Other questions on exports? Okay. The only other thing then I will mention, these last 2 things. For those of you who are waiting for announcements about the ocean biology and biogeochemistry proposals you submitted in March to the Roses 15 competition. We had a little bit of a delay in processing those. I apologize for that. I had nothing to do with it except my husband became a faculty member at an institution and general counsel took 8 months to decide whether I could keep my job. So NASA does the conflict at the full proposal, not the proposal level, but the full competition level. And as you can guess, I'm not the only person with a spouse in academia. So I wasn't actually able to start working on it until they said, yeah, you can keep your job, go ahead. And that was like May, so I've turned everything around. I expect letters to be out this week. That way you can all either hug me or strangle me this week, but we can start to do some of the debriefs if needed. So I'll stop there and turn it over to Kathy. But thank you, and keep the questions coming, you guys. I'm here all week as well.